Start Over Strong, Life After a DUI, a podcast for people, not offenders. Brought to you by Smart Start, the nation's most trusted, judgment-free ignition interlock provider. Hello, welcome to our episode today. Izzy and I have a very fun and exciting episode planned. We're going to talk about high-pressure environments, high-pressure cultures, also fun cultures, jobs, and how those can impact drinking behaviors and all the things. So I wanted to start first by saying I officially have a kindergartner. Oh my goodness.
Amazing.
It has been such an emotional week, to be honest. She is way more ready than I was ready. But it's been, a very proud journey, I think, too. We had, and I'm sure most schools do this, where, she's only in kindergarten, but it very much felt like we were having this like college experience. Like it was this full blown, we did like a meet the teacher, and you walk into the gymnasium and there's just tables everywhere with all this swag. And like, of course, I cannot help myself. And, being now officially a South Lake, Texas, Carroll ISD Dragon, very, very proud of that. You sort of have to like earn the decal, right? The dragon decal that goes on the back of your car. And it's, I've seen the pride for so long in the city, and to finally be sort of like initiated into that was really an incredible experience for me. So I am very proudly sporting my dragon gear today, and you are as well. So Izzy, tell me about your kiddos and your school experience this year.
Yes, representing the city of Prosper and Prosper High School. So different side of the spectrum. I now have a freshman in high school. It's crazy to say that.
Wow.
But very similar. Probably not the tradition quite of Carroll, but Prosper is very proud of their schools. They try to carry on the Eagle name across all schools. They're expanding in massive rates. If anyone does a search on Prosper High Schools, you'll see they're building these massive flagship campuses where 600,000 square feet and
My
amazing,
goodness.
all kinds of access to amazing resources. So we're very proud. We have a freshman at Prosper High School. We decided to go there for various reasons, mainly for the athletic programs. And then I have a sixth grader who's starting at a new school called Mosley. So I'm very excited to be part of that. The culture for high schools and school districts is very unique in North Texas. I came from South Texas, where it wasn't such a big deal.
Yeah,
But to
yeah.
come here, if you're not sporting your decal for your school, you're not representing your city and your
Amen.
school. So, very proudly supporting the city of Prosper, which is a great city.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting too. I think I mentioned it feels like it's on a collegiate level, which is so cool. I have been passionately impacted by all of the beautiful girls out there working very hard on Rush Talk. So Rush Talk is a thing. It's on TikTok. It's for all the ladies that are rushing right now. Our producer actually put together some of our favorites, so let's watch them. Check these girls out. This is Florida State University.
Proud of the Southern heritage for sure, you can tell.
Look at those outfits and the coordination there.
Amazing. I think this is University of Alabama, the Tide.
Look at 3 levels.
3-level sorority house. That is insane.
And they've all got this routine down.
That looks like it's a lot of fun.
I'm sure they spent hours, right? Just rehearsing this. Look at the pride. They are so happy. Look at the coordination of these girls.
That's
absolutely beautiful.
Definitely some spirit for their sorority.
That is Roll Tide for sure. Here we go. Texas Christian University out of Fort Worth.
So close to us. Look at that.
These girls are absolutely crushing it. Look at this.
Amazing dancing.
That was so cool to watch. I'm a fangirl of all of these sororities out there that are doing this and rushing. And I know they spend so much time just rehearsing to have these media hours where they are trying to build their social media organically, and they're spending all this time. And it's just like the pride is just so cool to see. Obviously at a level where they are smart, they're giving back, they're philanthropic. But these environments, as we know, lead to drinking. And a lot of drinking. I know that's true for sororities. I know that there's peer pressure there to drink. Do you think it's the same in fraternities?
Unfortunately, I didn't have the opportunity to go away to college. I was at in my home city of El Paso when I went to college. So I didn't really get that experience, but I know just from speaking to a lot of friends that went out for college, a lot of employees that I've had that work with me, that it is a very high pressure thing to join a fraternity. That it is, there's elements of high peer pressure. There's elements of people drinking to belong, even if that's not their background or what they choose to do, to excess in many situations. And, anyone who's looked at the news over the last 20 years about fraternities can see that there's been incidences where people overdrank. So I think it's a very high pressure environment for kids that are just becoming independent. You think a lot of them have left home for the first time and they don't have that resource of their parents there to help them out. And sometimes they indulge or overindulge, and it's mainly because of peer pressure.
Right. And they're learning their thresholds.
Correct.
And they don't know their thresholds yet.
Right. Yeah.
Right. Or maybe they've dabbled a little bit, but this is really a hands-off, parental experience for them. And they're just kind of learning. And even as adults, things like canned cocktails, I mean, those are geared towards healthier lifestyles, but those little canned cocktails that are supposed to be healthier, they have 3 times more alcohol by volume than a regular
Sometimes
beer.
more sugar too, which, can even be worse for alcohol consumption, right? And they're appealing. It's the packaging, it's the way they look. So
Right.
yeah, I definitely think that it's meant to make it more accessible, but sometimes it's more accessible to kids.
No, 100%. And so for today's episode, we are going to focus on high pressure environments like sales culture and sorority culture, other cultures where you essentially end up drinking and it becomes dangerous. That drinking can usually and unfortunately ends up in a DUI. So I've got questions today. Izzy, your background, let's touch on that. I want you just to remind our viewers where you come from in sales culture and what you're doing today with Smart Start.
Yes.
And then we're going to go into kind of interview style, having, the opportunity to sit next to somebody who's led sales culture. I've got some questions about celebration.
Yeah, absolutely. Just as a reminder, 20 years in sales, mainly in tech sales. High pressure environments, monthly quotas, large teams, sometimes teams that were working remotely. Quotas, I've been on a quota for over 20 years of my life. It doesn't feel normal to not have a quota. And sometimes those are the things that you're constantly chasing, trying to overachieve on. And yes, I've led some really big teams that we celebrated in big ways when we won big deals. And on the flip side of that is when you don't win, you tend to drown your sorrows out with alcohol as well. So essentially,
it's a double-edged sword.
No matter what you're doing, winning or
not happy
losing, you're
either
going to
way.
consume alcohol. So yeah, that is my background. And I have a lot of experience on how to manage people through that, how I manage myself, managing career decisions. And then, yeah, to end up with a company that is selling IIDs was a very different philosophy for me, right?
Sure.
So I think that's something I can definitely touch on.
Yeah. So tell me about Smart Start, the program today, because you call the team program advisors.
Program advisors.
They're not sales
They're
people.
not account executives. They're not sales reps. They are program advisors. And now the whole philosophy behind that is that it's not really a device. The device is critical, right? That is the mechanism. That's the delivery method. In a lot of ways, it is a critical part of it because it's the measurement is what the measuring is. It's a thermometer, right? That's what it truly is. However, the program is what is critical to the success of our clientele, for them to be able to start the program successfully, understand the ins and outs, the setup, the installation, how their state is specific, different than the other states, what their monitoring authority is going to look for, success metrics, success factors. Our program advisors are there for that. So most call centers or call sales environments, they're looking at average handle time. How quickly can you get to resolution? That's not a metric we look at, because if it takes 30 minutes to get someone through a program, that's fine. We want them to, right? So some people come with more questions, some people come with less. My program advisors are there to be empathetic, help the person understand the unique factors to their success, and then help them start and end the program.
Yeah, stigma-free IID, right?
Stigma-free IID.
Yeah,
right?
that's the whole point. What I love too about what the team does is they have free consultations. And I know there are predatory competitors out there. If you end up in a situation where you've had a DUI and you need an ignition interlock device, car breathalyzer, and you're looking at the three. What am I going to do? Who am I going to go with? Maybe your attorney hasn't recommended somebody. There's a big difference between how we do business and our sales team, I'm using air quotes, program advisor team approaches that, which is, hey, just give us a call and we will even talk to you for free about your state so you don't end up in a long-term contract that you don't need, right? If I only need an IID for 6 months compared to getting in a contract for a year, just having that conversation and the ability to have that consultation to me makes a big difference. So how often would you say your program advisor team are having those conversations and building relationships?
Yeah, there's no like specific time when someone comes to us when their journey starts through this process. Like some people wait until they're advised by their lawyer, until the court mandates. But there's a big population of our customers that come to us right after their DWI, their DUI, and they don't have all the particulars. They don't know all the information. They're just seeking information, right? They want to know more to help them through that journey. So it's very consultative. At that point, they probably don't have enough to go through the process of making an appointment for installation because they're missing information, but that's
Right.
okay. That's
Right.
okay. We want them to, right? So ultimately, do we want you to install with SmartStart? We do, because we believe we're the best program. If you look at our Trustpilot reviews, if you look at the customer first approach, if you look at the quality of the product, the quality of the program, absolutely we're number one. But we're not going to push you into an installation, which is very different than our competitors.
Yeah.
They feel like they have one chance. They have you on the phone. They're going to try to get you to install there,
Oh,
and so
that's
it's a
awful.
lot more high pressure.
Yeah.
So definitely, I think the advisory portion of it's something that comes from my background. I did a lot of advisory and sales.
Okay.
Ultimately, we're presenting the program, trying to align with how it fits what you need.
Yeah.
And I believe that if you do that, be it a technology, IT, or connected fitness units, like I used to sell before the company I was before, if we present the value, present the portions that match what you need, ultimately you're going to decide to come with us as
Yeah.
the company you choose.
Well, because it's no pressure. And so let's talk about alcohol in high pressure sales environments. What is your experience with that?
Yeah, so I think ultimately things may change, but right now and in the past, I think it's hand in hand. Um,
Work hard,
Work
play
hard,
hard.
play hard culture is very much sales mentality, right?
Sure.
So there's a lot of pressure, like I mentioned, the quota, constantly communicating with your customers, making sure that you're putting everything into your CRM Salesforce is updated in the right way. So it's daily check-ins with your leadership, right? It's daily check-ins with your team, and there's a lot of competition, right? So daily, right? So
Daily hounding.
where are you at month to date? Where are you at week to date? Are you going to be able to chain your quota? What's your forecast? It's a very pressure-filled position, and with that comes the opportunity to let off steam. You work hard, you play hard, you achieve these goals, and that can be in a daily happy hour. It can be in a weekly happy hour, and those are pretty normal. People overconsume, people
Happy
don't
hour is
consume.
normal?
It's
Okay.
normal. Yeah, it's a normal
Because
thing.
you want to feel like you're also a part of a team. And when you're the one who's in that situation, having these goals pushed down your throat all day long, you want to sit next to somebody and decompress who also shares that understanding with you.
Share complaints, share your concerns, share your goals, brag on yourself, brag on them.
Oh, it's bragging. It's not just
It's
an emotional
it's
moment.
everything. It's basically therapy. It can be therapeutic in a lot of ways.
Wow.
But we kind of touched on it with the sororities. There's definitely and fraternities. There's definitely pressure in that time where, as a leader, you're buying a round of shots, or the guy that hit their quota that month that's buying a round of shots. Before it's 3 rounds, it's 4 rounds, right? And these happy hours aren't an hour; they can go 4 or 5 hours, and that's just for a normal week. I mean, if we're talking about celebrating a big deal, a big win, a great quarter, a great month, it can be a lot more. At one of the companies I worked at, there was an event that happened for those that achieve their quota every quarter. And I won't say what the name of the event was because it'll give away the name of the company. But if you achieved your monthly and your quarterly quota, you would get invited to a trip. And those trips were 3 days long.
Like a president's club.
Like a president's club. Yes, exactly. They were 3 days long. And basically every event was revolved around drinking. So there'd be, you'd go do paddleboarding and then there was drinks. You would go do cycling, you would drink. You'd ropes course, drinks. And then there was dinners. So it's just kind of hand in hand with sales is that consumption, and then keeping up with your peers and that consumption as well.
So it's high pressure to drink.
It is. It definitely can feel that way. I definitely think a lot of people enjoy it. the type of people that are attracted to sales roles are usually very social.
Okay.
So social lubricants like alcohol help with that.
Okay.
You know, I think that's just a part of it is that you're in the trenches with your teammates, and the way that you really bond at the end of the day after a hard day is by having a few beers, having a few shots, having a few drinks.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting too, the term social lubricant. It's so interesting. Like recently, I also saw on TikTok something similar around just high pressure and peer pressure, even in low, like what would you would think would be a low pressure environment, with there being a sales factor and a revenue factor and virtually almost everything we've done over the past 5 years post COVID, that COVID, we're still talking about it. I get so frustrated, like when are we going to stop using COVID as an excuse? I do think there are clear indicators and statistics that we've seen, like in mommy wine culture, where those micro groups have they drink more, they were forced to balance more, and so here we have these statistics like younger women are now binge drinking more than men. That was a recent poll we looked at. But low pressure environments are even becoming high pressure environments, to drink essentially. So it's not just like, you know work, 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 work. It's drink, 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 because it's kind of like you need a release from the stress of it. But you're also talking about companionship drinking and it being a social lubricant specifically.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I think we kind of fell into that cycle during COVID as well, is that, we weren't in the office, we were at home. So you bonded with some of your neighbors that had kids your age, or, you were able to get out for a little while, and you tend to gravitate towards groups that have like-minded feelings about drinking. Like, you don't want to go somewhere and be judged. So you meet a couple that, has 4 or 5 drinks with dinner, and you're like, oh, that's kind of us. Let's hang out with them more, right?
So, and interesting. So I'm going to connect this here. So post COVID, right? Everybody was working from home. It's been interesting to see how some companies have brought folks back into the office. Some companies haven't. Hybrid is very much a way of life now with work-life balance. Do you think that people who work from home still, who are in a hybrid schedule, are drinking more?
Yeah, and I think a lot of companies adjusted to try to not to have that culture change. So I'll give the example of one of the companies that I was with. We were big into happy hour, and then we all went remote. So how do we fix that? We ship people wine. We would actually do.
You literally
we
ship
shipped them
people wine.
We would do wine tastings. I picked a winery that I had been to before. I liked a lot, loved their wine, sent it to my team,
Okay.
and we did a virtual wine tasting.
Okay.
So there's pros and cons to that. Like, everyone was usually home. I felt a lot safer.
Yeah.
As a leader of bigger organizations, and as I had a little bit bigger title and I had to be more responsible for my team, my perspective changed a lot. I wasn't the guy that bought 15 shots for the team anymore. I was basically like making sure everyone got an Uber, or that they had a designated driver home. Candidly, when I joined SmartStart, the directive was like, you're not going to have happy hours.
Yeah.
And so I think that took a lot of pressure off. But I think COVID changed things in a way where we had to adjust, but it did not stop that kind of high pressure alcohol consumption.
Yeah. I want to read a poll that coincides with your lived experience. So this is a 2019 Gallup poll, and it found that 52% of full-time employees actually work over 40 hours a week. And the study shows that people who work over 48 hours a week are 13% more likely to drink dangerously compared to those that work just 35 and 40. So do you agree that, it's 13% are going to drink more dangerously. Do you believe that in sales, for example, sticking with that they're working more than 35 to 40 hours a week?
Oh, there's really no off switch when it comes to sales. I think you're constantly looking, depending on the environment, depending on the type of product you're selling, or the type of business you're in. You're constantly looking to see where you're at. You're checking your email to see if there's a customer response. You want to know if there's been any changes to any of your proposals you've sent out. Depending if you're working with partners, they're always corresponding, right? So my wife doesn't ever stop what she's doing. She's an enterprise sales rep. She's literally looking at email constantly. I think what it makes us work is that we're the same way. There's no judgment. But at that same time, she is working 60 plus hours a week, right? Not just 8 to 5, but after hours. So it's constantly checking in. And there's definitely a type of response where you say, hey, I've had a hard week.
Yeah.
It's a Tuesday, but I'm going to open a bottle of wine.
Yeah.
Would you like to have some, right? And that's the kind of the thing where I think in a sales culture, the more you work, the more of an not an excuse, but the more you tell yourself it's okay if I have this extra drink.
Yeah.
It's okay if I drink on a
I
Wednesday.
earned
My
this.
first call's not till 10. I'm going to open, another bottle, right? So that happens pretty often whenever people are working long, because you have to balance somewhere. And so you have to adjust. And, me as I've gotten older, I've said I'm not going to drink, 5 days a week. I'll only drink Saturdays and Sundays. I'm
Okay.
sorry, Fridays and Saturdays, because I want to hit the gym. That's been my balance.
Limit your
Limits, right?
daily disciplines that are
Right.
healthy.
Yeah,
You're
that's
investing
taken a long
time.
time to get there, right? And I think some
Yeah.
people get there sooner than later. Um, but I definitely think, you tend to drink more in high pressure environments the more you work.
Yeah, no, I understand. Speaking of high pressure environments, we have some more statistics. Lawyers, minimum hour week on average for a lawyer is 60 hours. And I know we all have like in, project-based jobs or sales jobs where we're trying to hit a quota, we're trying to get a project done. You have those ebbs and flows where you've got a week or two in there where you might be working up to that. But for a lawyer, think about that. A single person doing that every single week, just the amount of stress and pressure that they're under.
Absolutely.
Would it surprise you that
Absolutely
attorneys are
not.
high
No,
drinkers?
you want to see someone that can throw down drinks, invite a corporate lawyer to your happy hour.
I mean,
Because we always
I can
did. I
only
mean, we
imagine.
you talk about the people that are doing the really difficult work, going through contracts, trying to get everything done. You would invite the corporate lawyers to your happy hour, and they would really run your tab up. So
Running the
they would
tab
run the
up.
tab up. There were plenty
They
of
should be the
drinks.
ones paying for it,
Yeah, I
right?
mean, and they're doing really the difficult work to making sure everything gets done, but they're working, crazy hours. Sometimes a corporate lawyer is working 5, 6 deals at a time just to get out for the end of the month, end of the quarter. Uh, plus they're working through procurement deals. So there's just a lot going on. So I'm not surprised by that at all.
Yeah. Well, speaking of attorneys, we love attorneys at Smart Start. I know that's a funny thing to say, like as a normal human in society. And it might be weird to hear, but I love attorneys. I think they are for you. I believe that about attorneys, especially family law attorneys. One of my favorite attorneys to watch. We call them influencers at Smart Start because they very much are influencers for us. If you end up in a situation where you have a DUI, a DWI, you need an ignition interlock device, you want to have the right attorney on your side. We can help with that too. You can visit our website if you need help. But one of my favorite DUI attorney personalities, he's called the DUI doctor. And wow, I mean, I could just consume like his content
I
all the
think I've
time.
actually heard some of his stuff. I need to definitely get a little bit more
We should
exposure.
have him on the show. It would
Right.
be amazing
Yeah.
to have that conversation. But here's another statistic. The Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration indicates higher rates of alcohol abuse in certain professions. All right, Izzy, why don't you read for me the top five, and then I'll add one more that I think needs to be added to this list that's
Not
missing.
not a ton surprised me here. Lawyers are number one.
Okay.
Healthcare professions are number two, which is like you'd think they're in healthcare. My father's a physician, and I, even though he's not that, I met a lot of the doctors, and doctors are some of the unhealthiest people you've ever met,
Oh, that's right.
especially with alcohol consumption.
And
So,
nurses, our
and nurses the
nurses, they
same
work
way.
so
Again, high pressure, high stress,
they work so
daily
hard.
stress, long hours. Mining construction's number three. Again, finance insurance does not surprise me, high pressure. And then hospitality is number five. I actually think that would be higher, but that's the fifth one is hospitality. So those are the top five.
Yeah, well, I think hospitality, right? These are your bartenders capping their long nights.
Hmm.
These are very sophisticated social environments, right? Where there's a lot of,
Hierarchy.
yeah,
Yeah. And the
absolutely.
kitchens.
Yes,
Hmm.
the other job I would personally like to add to this would be moms. I think moms and dads are, high stress, and we've unfortunately seen alcohol rates go up with mommy wine culture, something I'm so passionate about. I've talked extensively about. But there are consequences and ways to prevent and participate in healthy drinking and limitations, which we talked about earlier. So, Izzy, let's talk about the consequences, if we can. Obviously, attorney fees,
Very expensive attorney fees for sure.
very expensive. I mean, this is an hourly ordeal, and the amount of time, I can't imagine how expensive it would be, how costly it would be to go through. something like a DUI from start to finish. But again, we're happy to connect anybody that needs any help or resources. What other consequences are there for this?
Increased insurance rates depending on if there's any damage. But yeah, anytime somebody gets a DUI, they're gonna have to have a special type of insurance called SR22. So that's increased cost. Also, your vehicle insurance provider may raise your rates, so that's gonna be part of the consequences as well.
Yeah, that makes sense. We do have a great SR22 program. I think of it as being synonymous with IID. In most cases, you have to carry that binder because you went out and got a DUI, and so you're high risk now. The good thing about our program is there's no broker fees. And a
Gotcha.
broker fee, you're like, well, what's a broker fee? Well, it's the cost to not only initiate SR22, to maintain it, and then cancel it. We don't have any of those.
Yeah.
So it's a no-brainer through our program.
Definitely a differentiator between us and our competition is that we can advise on that.
Yeah.
There's a lot of other companies that kind of just let you know you need it, but not tell you where to get it from.
Right,
Yeah.
100%. I think the other ones too, like obviously a consequence of dangerous drinking is ending up with an ignition interlock device, the requirements of that, and then negative career
Yeah,
consequences.
definitely can touch on that. I've again, as someone that's led sales teams for a long time and been part of that happy hour culture, I've had a lot of people that have worked for me did not show up for work the next day. Come to find out they got their DWIs and
Oh,
had to deal with that, right? So there's a lot of negativity that comes. It's basically like drink, but if you drink to excess and you make a fool of yourself or you make a bad decision, you're on your own. And so it's not necessarily the best type of culture. I think we're trying to change that as we have an understanding of that is more related to mental health. But sometimes when someone makes a bad decision at a work function and doesn't represent themselves very well, they are isolated. They're left out. It affects their career. I've been a part of a lot of interviews where they did great on the interview, and then I get pulled aside later and say, "Hey, this person got really wasted at the last work event. We're not going to be able to move them forward, right?" So that happens pretty often. I'm a big believer in second chances. I've hired people that have had DWIs. I've worked with people that had DWIs that I did not fire because I do believe in second chances. But once it's there on your record, it is definitely a lot harder for you to find another job.
yeah, I mean, good ways to avoid the situation, know your limits,
Absolutely.
use an Uber or a Lyft or a ride share. I know not everybody has that luxury based on where they live. And just being proactive, getting sober
Yeah.
is,
I
another
think
one.
accountability is a good one. You pick your group of people that you are accountable to and they're accountable to you,
Yeah.
help you make good decisions. I think that's something that I really pushed people that I work with to say is like, hey, there's a group of four of you. You guys are the closest to each other. Make sure that you all take care of each other.
Yeah, that's great. Okay, so speaking of taking care of each other, I have one last question for you. What is a way that someone can celebrate a win in sales culture, maybe with a team or even individually, where they're not being isolated and avoid drinking?
I mean, that's a great question. I think there's been a big shift recently, right? And
Sure.
I think it's a shift for the better. There is still a really prevalent alcohol culture in high stress, high pressure, high reward environments. But it's shifting, right? There's more of a shift to wellness, mental health. So I work for a very well-known connected fitness company that sold hardware devices and basically classes, right? So a lot of people were coming to us and saying we're trying to shift our mentality on engagement. We want our team engaged. The happy hour engagement is not what we want to invest in. So, they'd come in, they'd purchase a bunch of stationary bikes from us and they would start classes. And then I think that became something where they would challenge each other, is better for their health, is better for their wellness. And there is a lot more accountability towards a healthy environment. I think retreats are a very good thing.
Oh, yeah, that's
The
great.
the spa day has become a thing now, right?
Yeah.
So taking your team to a spa day has become a thing versus taking them to happy hour.
Well, men are into it now. I've seen more men getting a pedicure than I could even begin to tell you
The
recently.
stigma's gone. Stigma-free pedicures, I think.
Stigma-free
that's
pedicures
that's
for the
what we're
win.
looking at. So I think that there's a shift in thinking. Mocktails are a big thing, right? So
Yeah.
I definitely want to go out and have dinner on a weeknight and with my wife and have a mocktail because I'm not drinking throughout the week, and I think that's something that's a lot more acceptable now is kind of ordering a mocktail.
Yeah.
And so I think there's that type of accountability within companies. It's a great thing for them. There's less kind of pressure. And I think now like the stigma of saying no is dissipating. Like people can say no to happy hour. They can say they're sober. They
Yeah.
can say they're not drinking, right? And that's not a bad thing anymore. Where 10 years ago you told someone you didn't drink, they'd look at you, like you had three eyes or something. So
Yeah.
I think it's,
No, it's so true. It's like, bullying is no longer cool. And what's cool is being nice and inclusive and being the one that, wears the t-shirt that says, you can sit with us. You can sit with us at lunch, and whatever you stand for, it's good. I think too, like finding a community, we're sort of forced, even my kindergartner, here we are in a full blown pride filled, excited community. We want to identify with other individuals that are like-minded, you and your wife both working very hard, and it's just enjoying the moment and being a part of that community, but doing it in a way that's safe and healthy.
yeah, I think that's transferable. For my son, like you said, he's a freshman, right? That
Yes.
alcohol exposure is coming, and we've talked to him about it and basically said, look, you're going to have to make your own decisions. We came from a different generation. Millennials and Generation X are exposed to alcohol at a very early age.
Yeah.
They drank with their parents or in front of their parents at 15, 16 years old. At least that's when I started. And there was really not that kind of negative connotation. Things have changed. You're not going to give your 16, 17-year-old something to drink willingly now. But they're going to be exposed to it. So have them ask questions, let them know it's normal. Let them know that's part of the process and the decision they're going to make, but encourage them to kind of choose the other path, which is, try not to consume if you can.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's a great transition into our Reddit question. Our Reddit question comes from an individual that has essentially baseline found themselves in a situation where they now need help. So Izzy, take it away.
Sure. So Reddit question of the week is, I got a DUI and I need to have an interlock installed in my car. How long do I have to have the device for? Is this a forever thing, or can I get it removed eventually? Help. So the answer to it is very much dependent on your state laws and the type of infraction and the situations around the infraction, right? If there's an infraction that has more damage or involves other people, it's going to be a little bit different. Your state authority will confirm with you how long the program is and lasts. The key is to stay compliant, right? So like your blows, as you register your blows, as you register everything within the device, if you're staying within compliance, it's going to stay within the term. Some states may even give you less of a term, but as you violate, that term changes, right? So it's going to be longer. So we've have people on the spectrum that will be out early, and we have people on the spectrum that get extended because they are violating. So it's very much dependent on your state. But at the end of the day, the success is to have the device removed, right? The program ends, and that's ultimately what we want to celebrate at Smart Start, is that you start the program, you're successful, you go through it, and then you have the device removed.
Yeah, that's excellent. Thank you, Izzy. Mm-hmm. Thanks for listening to our episode today. Visit www.smartstartinc.com for more information. You can get your first 2 payments free with coupon code STIGMAFREE.
Or you can always call 844-766-0156 to get your free advisory from our program advisors.
And thank you. I am Morgan Ryan. Until next time.
And I'm Izzy Varela.
Stay safe,
drive smart.
All right. I'm going to do it. Here we go.
Some skills there.
Bam, 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 bam.
I think you missed your calling to be part of the TCU sororities for sure. Can always go back. Rush again.
Go Dragons!